What's up, cycling fans? We're back with a World Championship episode of The Chatter. That's right. We have Megan Jastab from the Junior Women's World Championship, also representing rally cycling as a pro rider at just 17 years old. She is a dynamic conversation, a lot of fun to talk to, very smart young lady, and a stellar racer. 3 world championships over the last couple of months, and tons more ahead of her. Before we start, though, let's hit our sponsors. We're sponsored by Legacy Bikes. That's Legacy with an I, Legaci, bikes.com. Christmas is coming, and you can get your little one that perfect balance bike by hitting up Todd at Legacy Bikes. We are also sponsored by NISBRA, the New York State Bicycle Racing Association. NISBRA is responsible for all the behind-the-scenes work in amateur racing in New York State, from grants to upgrades to officials, all the tough stuff. They're getting ready for state championship bids right now, getting the calendar ready for the spring. So hit up their website. If you're an event organizer and you need some support, you can hit them up through their website or through Facebook and get some help there with some people who know what they're doing. All right. So our conversation today, as I said, is with the highly talented Megan Jastab. She is a lot of fun, really insightful, mature beyond her years for sure. She tells us about her stellar world championship sprint on the road, some plans on the track, potentially to qualify for Tokyo in 2020, as well as the transition to college life. Really inspirational young lady, really interesting conversation. We're really lucky to have had her take her time out to speak with us. So I hope you enjoy it. So without any more babbling from me, please enjoy Megan Jastab from Rally Racing and Team USA.
You'll never go out on a training ride and dig that deep.
Awesome. We won gold.
Their life ride.
I'm like, dude, I'm still figuring this out.
Lose sight of the fact that it's whoever goes faster.
Yo, this isn't a road race. This isn't a mountain bike race.
The sensei of sprint, Todd Jastab.
My eyes are coming out of my head. Just get in here.
We are on. How are you, Megan?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. It's great to talk to you. You have had a tremendous 2019. I don't know if I could state that strongly enough.
Thank you.
It's been quite a busy, just the last couple of months, let alone the entire year for you. 3 world championships between the last few months. The most recent of which was at the Road World Championships, and I definitely want to talk a lot about that. But what's the last few months been like for you after these 3 big events?
It has been nonstop, truthfully. I went from track worlds, I went straight from summer of racing back home to track camps to track nationals, all the way to junior track worlds, started college, and then went to junior road worlds. So it has been nonstop.
Oh, started college in there too. No big deal, right?
Oh yeah, yep, definitely. Just a minor detail.
So where are you at school?
I'm going to Milligan College in Johnson City, Tennessee.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Very nice.
This is nice. It's a small Christian college.
Are you doing any riding right now, or are you kind of taking a little break?
I've been on off season for around 3 weeks now, so this next week I'm just starting to ride again because I came back, had a week and a half off, went to Collegiate Mountain Bike Nationals in California, so that was nice. It was my backyard, and then came back and took another 2 weeks off the bike. So I've been on a long off season, but next week it'll start back up.
Nice. Well, that's got to be kind of nice starting school to be able to focus on that a little bit. This is the first year at school, right?
Yeah, I graduated high school 2 years early, so my parents didn't want me going away to college at 16, which meant I went and attended a community college for around basically 2 semesters. So
okay,
yeah,
cool.
got some credits and transferred into the school with 23 credits or 24 credits.
Nice.
Oh, it's a nice start. And what kind of swayed your decision? I mean, you're from Southern California, right?
Yeah, there's not too many collegiate cycling colleges out there, so it's very few with the degree that I was going for, and this one just seemed to fit what I was looking for.
Yeah, did you maybe you said it and I would completely missed it, but did you say what your major is there? What are you studying?
I was studying nursing, but with how I'm going in cycling and everything and traveling, I have found out that clinicals will not be working for me, so I'm going to switch my major, and I have not decided yet. I'm thinking maybe like staying in the field of like exercise science, maybe business management, but I have not decided yet.
Maybe just major in world championships.
Yeah, majoring in cycling, right? Like, can that be my major?
Well, you gotta maybe combine that up. Maybe you put a couple things together, but certainly exercise phys is an easy drop in, right? But
Yeah.
certainly you're learning a lot of things about marketing and about travel, and I mean you're picking up an education just in heck, I mean in the last 6 months. I mean,
Yeah.
like if we look at results in travel and what your life has been like in 2019, that's probably a fair amount more than you'll ever learn in a college course.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I've gone so many different places, and just the other week I was in New York City for an event, and I got to go like different museums and stuff, and I was like, oh, I just learned about this in history class. I'm like, I can totally compare this to what I'm learning in class.
Yeah,
So it's been great.
yeah, you're seeing the real thing, and
Yeah.
and getting to see some of these really cool places. I mean, because I mean, you've been doing some of the big races and getting kind of all over the place. I mean, being up in the obviously the UK for Worlds, and you have a again Wevelgem win under your belt as well, correct?
Yeah, I did that last year. I got second today this year in the junior women, and then the U17 women I won the Ghent Wevelgem.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've been getting to be around a lot, and not only that, but you're traveling with a national team as well. So where were some of the other big races you hit this year? There was a big one in Italy you got as well, Nations Cup or something. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had a long spring trip. Not too long actually, but like we started out in Trofea Binda in Italy. That was great because it was like kicked off the Nations Cup. So I got the win in that one with the team, and that meant we were leading the Nations Cup team standing. So then we went into Ghent Wevelgem in the team standing, leading the team standing. I got second place there, and then we were still leading, so we got to go back on the podium together as the Nations Cup team leader, or the nation's leader, and then from there, we went to the Netherlands for the Healthy Aging Tour, and that was the end of the spring trip. So it was really nice. We got to travel to all those countries and then stay at the home base in Sittard, Netherlands.
Nice, nice. And so in the spring, I mean, where it was how was Italy as far as weather goes? I mean, it's got to be a fair amount. Well, you're used to Southern California, so that's probably not a really great comparison. But you're about to find out to get some cold because I think we get a little Arctic blast coming down. So you're gonna have a little comparison soon. Um,
Yes, it's supposed to snow here at college tomorrow, so it's nice. I kind of got a taste of it in Europe this year.
yeah, yeah. Now is it all road? You said you did mountain bike nationals or you did a mountain bike race in California, so I'm gonna probably start confusing my friends now because you're in everything. Um, so
No,
was
I
it, go ahead.
I raced mountain bikes like around 3 years ago. I started out in road and then added track and mountain bike my second year of racing. But I dropped mountain bike the last 2 years just because it was so much racing that I could like it overlapped too much. So I dropped mountain biking. But this year I came back from Worlds and they're like, oh yeah, there's collegiate mountain bike nationals coming up. Do you want to do it? I was like, no, it's fine. I'm just gonna take on off season and stuff. They're like, well, it's in Big Bear, California. I was like, wait, what? Hold up. And I was like, I grew up skiing in Big Bear at Snow Summit. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's literally 40 minutes from my house. Like, yes, I would love to go. Like, I was like still on like decent form. I've only taken like week and a half off the bike. So I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. I get to see my family, get to go race like where I grew up kind of. So it was nice. It was a nice
Yeah,
kind of like chill atmosphere too.
How'd the
yeah.
race go?
It was at altitude, and I haven't been at altitude for a very long time, so that killed me, but it wasn't bad. I got two 11th places. I got 11th in cross country and then 11th in short track. And then
Nice.
our team got fourth in the team relay.
Nice. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
talking about that with Steve Cullen the other day about how much a lot of you younger riders seem to be doing just all these different disciplines and really kind of jumping into a bunch of stuff. Do you see that being kind of normal among your peers right now, and or is that just a few people here and there?
I think it's also just like there's a group of us that just love racing our bikes. So like any discipline is fun for us. Yeah, we all have our favorites, I think, but just racing our bikes, um, being in different sports or like disciplines of cycling, it's kind of like different season in each one. So you kind of get a different taste of in each year. And racing is like some of the best training you can get. So it's nice to be able to go from like road to track to mountain bike in the year, and then cyclocross is like, of course, like kind of like that off season time for road riders. So I actually take my off season and don't do cross, but it's like you learn so much from every discipline that it helps in all aspects of cycling, I think.
Do you have one that you favor the most?
It would be road and track. I
Yeah.
think road has a little bit of priority over track, but that's just because that was my first discipline.
And maybe that's going to change for the coming year, right? I mean, uh, I think at least I've heard rumblings of that you're gonna meet the minimum age requirement for Tokyo for track.
Yes, yes, that'll definitely be a goal for next year. But I'll be 18 next year, so I will be eligible to try for the Tokyo Olympics. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And it's obviously it's a highly competitive slot for Team Pursuit right now.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Kim Geist retiring this week
Yeah.
takes kind of opens up a little, at least gets the door cracked open, but you still got 4 or 5 people already there. So, but definitely looks like I mean, you look like you're on track to be one of the favorite ones to be there, if not riding at least the qualifiers or the finals or something.
Well, thank you. Yeah, like Kim Geist retiring, it was sad news for me because I've done training camps with her, and she's just such an amazing athlete in person. So I was hoping to get an opportunity to actually race with her in like a competitive event. So that was a bummer for me. But yeah, there is an opportunity for me to make it, and I'll definitely be trying my best to make it onto the team. But it's it's one thing that's bad about my age is that for the past like this year, I'm not eligible to race any of the World Cups. So for next year, I will only be eligible to race the Milton World Cup. That's the only experience I'll be getting next year at that level of racing with the team
Right.
before Tokyo.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely puts it definitely raises kind of the challenge of not being able to regularly be with them in competition. Um,
Mhm.
I guess the flip side of that is it's team pursuit and you can train it relatively well because
Yes.
it's not like a mass start race where you're like, well, I didn't have this level of people around me, and now I do.
Yes,
Um,
you have a time you need to meet, and you can train to meet that time.
So, and yeah, I mean, and the team is obviously looking very strong, but so are you, and in all disciplines. So I think, and it's a really kind of a really exciting time. I think I mean, we look at the juniors, U23, yourself, the elite women and the junior men as well. I mean, everybody
Mhm.
seems like look at this big, huge surge. I mean, are you guys kind of feeding off each other's energy off of that a little bit and kind of feeling that momentum at all?
I think the most energy that I felt or like was really inspired by everyone was whenever we went into the rotaries at Junior Worlds, like with Chloe's performance in the time trial, the men's performance in the time trial, the junior men in the road race the day before ours. Like it was just insane, the energy, the excitement going on in the team. And I think that really helps is like whenever you see your teammates working so hard, especially like at the spring trip, we're all around each other for like 3 to 4 weeks and you just see how much work everyone puts into it. It just kind of inspires you to like, yes, the intervals are hard, but like hey, everyone else is trying their best, so you better like step up even if like on the hard days. So you definitely feed off of everyone else's like work ethic, I think, the most.
So
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk. Can we talk about that race? I want to talk about a lot of that, but I definitely want to hear about this race and sort of how it broke down. Maybe before you kind of break the race down for us, kind of going into the race, Chloe was the last American woman to win the juniors, right? And I think there was one other.
Yeah.
So you're the third, I think, American woman to win the juniors, and Emma's been on the podium there. So obviously, you know Chloe and Emma. So have you gotten? Do you have any advice going in from them? kind of before that race that kind of got you focused there?
I don't know if it was anything specifically from them. Yeah, I'm like Emma's my teammate on rally. Chloe, I've done a lot with on the track, so like they're both amazing and they're both super supportive. But I don't know if I got any direct advice from them other than like race hard and do your best and like they wish me luck and everything. But I think going in, like it was just more like trusting that I could pull it off because I knew I was really concerned going in that I hadn't raced a road race since June with for junior road nationals. It was all track after June. So it was like my first race back on the road and I was really concerned about how everyone was going to be fitness wise and where I was, especially with starting college and me stressed about classes, coming back from track fitness and not having a lot of time to prep for road worlds. I was really worried going in. So I think it was more everyone's confidence like, no, you can handle it, Megan. Like, look what everyone else has done. You can do it too. And it was just everyone's confidence, like trust in yourself.
Cool. So take us through the race. How does the race play out?
uh, I keep saying the course is really lame. I feel bad for saying that, but our race was because we're junior women. We have a restriction of it's UCI restriction of it can't be over 95 kilometers. I think that's the restriction.
Okay.
So what we did, we started in Doncaster and then we rode into Harrogate. And because of that's where they wanted to start us, I think that was mainly where a lot of the races started. So we started, there's basically no terrain at all. Like you just went straight out, a couple turns, maybe like 5 turns in the whole lead in for like this 50, 60 kilometers, basically. Like maybe 2 towns. We had one bridge that was narrow. That was like one place. I got it. I attacked there. That was it. So
Just looking for
yeah,
those opportunities. There's only two, so don't miss it.
exactly. And that was so nice. I had like there's a lot of crashes, which was mainly because I think it was so untechnical that everyone was like, okay, we got to stay towards the front. We got to stay towards the front in case like it gets windy, it starts raining, or something happens. So everyone was super tense and it's worlds. Everyone wants to perform their best. They want to help their teammates out. And I think it was just the nerves. Everyone was just freaked out, just super excited for the race. And there was just tons of little mistakes in the group, I know. And it just caused just pileups like every 5 minutes. It was crazy. What was nice for me is that I know a couple of my teammates got caught up in them, and then I had two with me up at the front, like basically at all times, which was nice because in those like two key features of the first 60K, they definitely helped set me up and was up there when I was like, yes, I want to attack here. I need to be towards top 5 in this place. So I had them with me to like help set me up for position, which they would be like either pulling and I'd be second wheel, which is really nice, or they would just be there that I would be like, I can work with them if we get in a break or something happens. But other than that, for the first 60K, there was not much excitement.
Other
But
than crashing, there was
The
really
crashing, yeah. I remember watching it when I was watching it, thinking about, man. I mean, there's always a lot of crashing in just junior racing in general. There's nerves, and you guys are so strong, and yet so kind of a lot of you're so young in terms of racing experience that it just ends up happening a lot in junior racing. But it seemed like there was a lot of crashes for sure.
yeah, I didn't even know about the crashes. I only knew that there was 2 crashes, honestly, in the whole entire race because I was always top like 10 places, I think, and most of them were happening like mid to back of the pack. I Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, there's so many crashes," and I didn't notice it until I rewatched the race, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you think you were racing at a pro level at like 15, right? So
Yeah.
do you think that experience helped you in those scenarios? Like, are you more advanced than some of your competition in those situations?
Yeah, and I think that's where the US junior women get a bonus for being in the US is that we actually get a race our category while we're juniors. In Europe, so I got to race with the AMG Foundation at 15 at the Redlands Bicycle Classic and had my first like real stage race and got was raced basically only pro races since then. I do like junior nationals and junior nations cup. Other than that, I'm always racing category pro women. And that's where in Europe they don't get that experience where they only can race junior women. Like, yes, there are tons of junior women that race over in Europe, but it's at the same time everyone's kind of learning through junior women, and whereas I get the experience like pro women who already know everything, and I get to learn from them.
Yeah.
It's kind of a unique, kind of a in a weird, almost weird kind of, and maybe I'll even misuse it, but almost kind of ironic kind of a twist, right? Given how road racing is here, and the fact we don't have a lot of UCI events, and we have these other events to do and things, but it almost turns into an advantage then that you're not so heavily in the UCI structure, because now all of a sudden you're breaking out and you're racing with women that are much more experienced and are at that level as well. And especially now with how well the women are doing on a world stage, then to be able to race with them here in races like Colorado and so forth, and to hit those really hard ones. So it's almost like this ironic thing. you know, and people talk about, well, when are we going to get more UCI races? And somebody was talking about it on social media today, and I'm almost kind of thinking, I don't know, maybe it's not even a really good thing that we would do that, given what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's good though to have a lot of those opportunities to race. I know I haven't been allowed to race UCI races because of my age, but I I know they just changed the rule again. Well, not again, but they changed the rule that from that when you turn 18 you're allowed to race UCI races. Just this past month they changed that rule where you had to be 19 to race UCI races. So I am still restricted next year that I can only race non-UCI races, which stinks. Like I was really looking forward to that because I've gone through since I was 15, racing all like Redlands, Colorado Classic until it became UCI this year. And I think that really helps with my development is like striving to become that race at that level. And it just like motivates me to see that I performed well at Redlands, I performed well at Colorado when I could race it, that I can step up to that level. So I think that is a nice perk of being here, that if we have those opportunities, we get to keep improving. And then so when we go over to Europe, we actually have already raced enough and we have enough experience going over, because over there they grow up on bikes. They start learning the skills at a very young age, whereas over here it's a little bit different. We have wider roads, we don't have as many technical races, so whenever if we have have the races that we can get experience at, I think it would be an easier transition.
Yeah, definitely. And how is it, you're racing, even when you race the elite races here, you are racing gear restricted, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 52-14 with 25C tires. The tires
Yeah.
make a difference. If you go to 28, you won't pass.
So it gets you right on that.
I never knew that. That's interesting. I didn't know
It's like
with the tires. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's very detailed. If you don't ride 23 anymore, you ride 25 because it gets you that little extra.
That's cool. Yeah.
You're getting a little extra, but then you're getting an extra rolling resistance, and then so you're playing this fine balance. And see, but I always feel non-sympathetic to juniors now, though, because when I was a junior, goes way back, so I won't even say what year it was.
You had like an 88 or something.
Yes, we were like a full gear lower. We were 53-15. That's what we were. That was our max. So you learn to tuck the downhills really good.
Yes, I feel like the juniors will learn how to super tuck before anyone else, because they're like, the dumb juniors. Like you're risking. You're like, well, it's like if we want to stay with you, we have to learn how to super tuck.
Do something, anything to stay in.
Yeah, like I'll take water bottles at the top of the hill just to help me get down the hill.
Right. And there's all these little things. So, but then I think that also it kind of can start to play into when you're racing at a little bit of a disadvantage by having a gear restriction. It forces you to be smart in areas, right?
Yes, I would totally agree with that. You really have to think about the tactical side.
Do you think that there's a point?
Like you're.
Do you think there's a point where that should go away?
The junior gears?
Yeah, like is it when you get to a high enough level, do you feel like that restriction shouldn't be there, or do you think that that's something that should stay? I mean, you know what I mean? Like applying it to kids who are 15, who are racing in a local Cat 4 race or racing, local junior stuff is a lot different than applying it to you. So do you think that it works the same at that entry level as it does for you, and it should be across, or do you think like there's a point where you should be able to phase out of that when you kind of gotten to a certain level?
So the junior gear restriction was put in place, I believe, to not allow juniors to grind in a really hard gear so our knees would develop properly. That's what I believe it was for. So I think it's a good rule, and it helps. It kind of makes it you learn how to have a smooth paddle stroke. I still haven't learned how to have a smooth paddle stroke, even with the junior restrictions. I'm terrible at spinning, but it does make you think about more tactical. Um, I think it's a good rule till you're like 16, because then from there, like you're an actual junior, like you're 17, 18, you're probably going to be like in a cat 1, cat 2, cat 3 race, racing with adults by that age. Normally that's
Right.
how it progresses. So I believe that when you turn 17, 18, you're not completely developed, you're still developing as a rider, as a person, but physically, I think you can start gaining more if you are unrestricted for gaining strength wise. And I think at 17, 18, they should be unrestricted. Like on the track, you're done with junior gears when you turn 17. So I think the rule should probably change from juniors when you turn like 17, 18. But
I
that's
think
just my
part of it.
opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think part of that, when you look at it, because you're gonna be getting a little bit more track stuff going here, most likely, but gearing is typically lower on the track to begin with, so I think that's part of we take the restriction away at 17. But I mean, like honestly, I spend most of the winter track season riding in like a 51-14 now.
Yeah.
And so the gearing is already lower, and so I think that's kind of part of what plays into that.
Yeah.
And you're gonna do it, and if you spend more time on the track, you're gonna get smoother.
Yeah.
So gonna
I
happen.
work on it. I've gotten much better, but it's still not my preference.
Right,
But
but
yeah, I definitely believe that like the junior gears have definitely helped in tactics wise. I know that for a fact because whenever I set up a sprint, I'll be like, okay, if it's from this turn, I have to enter it top. Like I either have to enter it first and sprint from the corner because once I get up to speed, I'm not going to like come around anyone. I just have to get the jump on everyone. Or it's like be like whenever it's with rally, I'll be like, I'm sorry guys, like I will not be there for the sprint. I would just be spun out. It's like a slight downhill. I'm like, nope, not my day. Sorry. I will do my part in the beginning and then have at it. I'm not there.
Well,
So
speaking of sprints, let's go back to your road world championship because we talked about the beginning of the race, but the end of the race is thrilling. And I think that I think it was Velo News podcast. I'm going to steal it. I don't know if that was them, but I think that's who said it. They were talking about it, and they said you have ice in your veins to have sat there that long and waited and waited and waited, and then unleash that sprint and win. And I thought that was really appropriate for how exciting that was. So, can you tell us kind of how that plays out from your perspective?
okay, now watching it over again and having everyone tell me these things that I waited long, I will not wait that long again,
It
ever.
worked. I'm
So,
not saying you shouldn't. I mean, you know
no,
what you
no,
won. It was
no,
just it was
but but I could have gone earlier. But I'll tell why my thought process was like that. Yeah, the whole race was kind of plain throughout the beginning. I believe like halfway through the race, two riders got up the road, and they were working pretty well, but no one in the field was chasing. And from the end, believe it was like 7K to go. There was a slight. It was enough of a climb. It was a gradual uphill that was definitely it took it out of you. And then you had a short descent into a sharp left-hand turn with 3K to go. I believe on the 7K climb, we entered it behind the two riders about like 40 seconds, and attack started to happen, but it wasn't closing that much. I know that one of my teammates, Gabrielle Lenhard, got to the front and started the chase originally, and it rotated pretty well. We got down to like 25 seconds of the gap, and then Gabrielle came back up and helped close the gap down to basically like we could have just jumped across, and that's what happened. Some of the Italians started attacking, people jumped across, and then it was one big group by the top of the hill. And then from there, it was down into a sharp left-hand turn with 3K to go. And that was like in the meeting, we did a lot of course recon. And I was like, this is the deciding moment of the entire race. Whatever you do, get to this turn, top five. Whatever you do, just get here because it sets you up with, I believe, like from that turn, it was like 15 seconds. And then you have a sharp, steep little climb to the three last turns. And that was going to be like the deciding moment. And it was. Gaviria Agariva attacked from there at the bottom out of that turn. She entered it first, and like I was probably like fourth wheel, but the person behind her overbraked a little bit, and she got a decent gap actually coming out of it. She took it really well, and then I chased her, got on with her, and then she was just pulling the whole entire time, like just kept pulling, and I like looked back and I'm like, dang, no one's chasing. I'm like, I see like 4 people in the front. I'm like, interesting. I'm like, is this world championship? I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. Like, I have like 20 bike lengths. I have someone pulling me up this hill, and I'm like, there's only 3 more turns. I'm like, cool, okay, breathe. I'm like, just breathe, breathe. Then like, and then she was like trying to make me go around, but I was kept looking back the whole time, and I know everyone's like, don't look back, don't look back, but I'm like, I want to see how much everyone is chasing, how much work I know I need to do to keep it the gap, and then like if I didn't want to do too much work and have Gariba outsprint me or attack me on the final turn up the hill because she's insanely strong. She had such a strong performance on the time trial. She won with making a wrong turn. So I kept like looking back to make sure to see how hard everyone's chasing, but so I was happy like there's just a small group left after that hill, and I was like, okay, fine. Like I don't really need to do that much work. I trust my sprint more than anything. I'm like, I can go back and like into a reduced the reduced bunch and sprint it out. So I was like, no, if you wanna keep pulling, go ahead. And she kept pulling. So I was working out pretty nice. And then from the top, like I pulled through a little bit, and then we went through the last 3 turns and up the finishing stretch, and she pulled off, and I was like, nah, like you can keep pulling. And I was like, okay. I'm in the front. I'm like, okay, yeah, we're kind of getting close. We're going really slow. I'm like, okay, patience. Don't waste your time. Don't blow it. And then I looked back, and I keep watching the video. I like looked back, and there was a crash that happened, but whenever I was looking back, I didn't even see the crash, to be honest. And from there I was like, okay, I see the finish line. I'm like, I should start sprinting. So I was like, patience. Don't go too early. Don't get jumped. Don't lead it out and get past. And I was like, okay, they're there. I'm here. I'm like, okay, we're coming from a much slower pace. I'm like, I should start sprinting now. And then like I was waiting for Gariba because I thought she was gonna stay on my wheel because like I'm pretty good at looking down and like seeing who's on my wheel and watching like the shadows and everything. And I saw that I was dropping her, so I was like, okay, I beat her. And then I was like, I knew I won, but then whenever I saw the video again, I was like, dang, people are like 4 bike lengths behind me, but I didn't even notice them. But it was still enough gap. But I will say I will start sprinting earlier next time, just to be on the safe side.
Right. Yeah, and definitely when you watch the footage and you see the Dutch rider coming up really quick, and I'm kind of watching this thing going, I'm like, Megan, you gotta freaking get on the gas because the Dutch rider's gonna get you at the line,
Yeah.
And
I did finish with like 4 to 5 bike lengths at the finish, so it was still a gap. And I like if I was like still watching for the shadows and stuff, I would have kept sprinting. I posted up like 2 to 3 bike lengths before the line. So yeah, I could have kept sprinting earlier. Could have sprinted earlier. Could have kept sprinting, but I still finished with like 4 to 5 bike lengths, so it was okay.
But you certainly looked very composed and very strong in the moment. So as much as they were coming, it was clear that you had a lot left, and you've been sitting on her wheel and playing it really well. Even if you were making us all a little nervous in the process, but you knew what you were doing, so it doesn't matter what we think.
Yeah, it was good.
One of the things you gotta look up now because you're gonna relate to this race really well. This is a long time before your time, but 1992 Milan San Remo. So Tony's laughing because he knows I always dip back at these races years
Megan,
ago.
I was 10, so you weren't even it was 10 years before you were born. And I was 10 years old. So this is how old we get when we get to these Todd stories. But he'll educate both of us on this.
But this is the race you definitely want to watch because this is your finish. You are Sean Kelly in the 1992 Milan San Remo, and he catches Moreno Argentine coming into the Via Roma. But then watch the rest of it. And that's all I can think of when I'm watching your race. I'm like, yep, this is 1992 Milan San Remo. Awesome finish. Like this is like
okay.
Yep, 1992 Milan San Remo.
Perfect. I will do some homework and watch it.
Todd has it on VHS tape somewhere in his closet.
I do.
See.
I absolutely do.
Man, I could come over and just like
cycling.
I could come over for a day and just like have some popcorn, ride the trainer, watch some old races.
There you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful day.
Yep, you pick up all the old races when everybody had either hairnets or no helmets, and yep, go total old school.
Yeah, totally. Forget this trainer. The
That's
smart
right.
trainers nowadays.
We used to do, right? You ride the trainer and watch these old races, right? And you had to get them on VHS because that was the only way. You had to get them from World Cycling Productions or a black market. Some guy would literally like video it off of the TV Eurosport cast and then sell the tapes. So that was our only way.
Gotta do
Times
what you gotta
change.
do to watch the races.
That's right. There was no flow bikes, or I'm over here watching NBC Gold, live watching your race, and I'm watching all these races, and then it's like, man, things have certainly changed for sure. But you can pick it up on a YouTube, anyways. Somebody will have it. I'm almost definite of it. So
Yeah.
that's the race to watch. You'll be like, yep, this was totally my finish. Totally cool with that. When I did watch that finish, though, it was really wild, and I don't know if you got to talk to your breakaway rider there. I'm going to mispronounce her name, Gaviria or Gavia.
I think it's Gariva.
Gariva. Okay.
Mhm.
But and if I have any problem pronouncing it, I know that that Magnus would definitely set me straight. So we learned that from Quinn. So, but we're gonna pick on him when he's not here. But she does pull over for you to come through at one point, and you ride next to her, and I could kind of figure out when I'm watching. I'm like, why doesn't she go behind Megan? Is it like, do you think she's maybe underestimated and it was like, I feel strong, I feel good, maybe Megan's cracking and she can't come through because you ride next to her and she lets you ride next to her, but she doesn't go behind you. And I'm thinking, it's like 400 meters from the finish, 500 meters from the finish.
I didn't talk
And
to her after it all, but I do know that whenever I pulled through, I was just kind of like, nah, I don't really want to pull through. So I slowed down before I even went through to like pull, and I think she just kind of kept like my pace, whatever I was doing, she did. And it kind of surprised me. It was more like a track match sprint. Like we were just looking at each other, and I'm like, this is interesting. So I don't know what the tactic was there. I don't know if she was like being like, well, she stops pedaling. If I go behind her, will I slow? I think every time she slowed down, I might have slowed down a little bit too. So that could have been it. Like she just kept matching me. She was trying to go behind me, but I kept slowing down because I wasn't committed to polling either.
right.
That could be it. But I don't know if she was thinking that she was gonna out sprint me, if that was like the tactic, like, oh, I have enough power. But so I don't know. I was comfortable leading it out, but I just wasn't comfortable pulling from 400 to 300 and then sprinting and leading it out. That's definitely not my style of sprint. So that's what I was being patient to not kill myself. I was waiting to like have from a slow jump and then sprint.
Right.
What about the chase? Did you talk to anybody there and find out kind of why they seem to be so complacent with you guys going for so long?
I have no clue.
I was wondering if all
I
the
was
crashing,
shocked.
if it was the crashing and kind of the wet roads, and there were some turns in that last section there. It looked like, but maybe were they concerned about the crashing and the wet roads that they didn't want to push, or they just didn't think you were going to stick it, or what?
My only guess is that from that group after the climb, after the 3Ks, that it was such a reduced bunch that it was only the favorites in that bunch that everyone's like, nah, I'm the favorite. I'm one of the favorites. I don't have to do the work. Someone else will do it. Or like they just kept looking at each other where no one actually committed to the chase. And that's where I think why we stayed away is that there was so few like teammates to help the leaders on the teams chase something down that everyone just kept looking to each other and it's like, well, if I chase it down, I'm going to be too tired and I'm not going to win the spike racer podium. So why would I do that? And that's what I think why we stayed away so well.
Yeah, that makes sense. The guy said this kind of the similar thing about the men's junior race and that kind of mentality coming out a lot in the junior racing and kind of the teams not really working together. There being more of that attitude. So
yeah, it was definitely there's some like I'm sure other teams had more like everyone had a leader to work for, but at the end of that race, after such a non-eventful race where it wasn't like hard racing, it was just lots of crashes happening. Whereas at that end, it was just full gas. So it was a really hard finish for us because we didn't do any circuits, so everyone was going full gas up that little climb that it just shredded the group in half. or like even smaller. It was like, I think it was like 25 people left. So it definitely put some of the favorites there. And then anyone else that was hanging on was not able to chase.
Yeah, and it was a little strange because I thought when you guys took the last turn, and what I was really expecting is that your gap wasn't big, and they were kind of all bunchy. And I thought somebody's gonna launch. You know, it's sort of like one of those 3-up track sprint things, right? Or 4-up track sprint when you do the repechage when you weren't good enough to get to the finals. And
Yeah.
And I know that because I've been there too many times, right? And so you're fighting for like maybe I can still get fifth, right? And so you're in this 3-up or 4-up sprint, and you can always, like I always go with the general rule. There's always one guy that knows he's the slowest guy, and he's going to go early.
It's gonna
right?
kilo it.
Yeah, so you know what's coming, right? So you're just waiting for that guy to go.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking this is what's going to happen. Right? I'm thinking this is the last little kick when you guys come around that corner. I'm like, somebody knows they don't have the sprint, and somebody's going to go, and they're going to incite the riot, and they're just going to give it everything. And even if they get in contact, they may not win, but they're going to incite the riot. All hell's going to break loose. And nobody did. Nobody did. I was like,
Yeah. And that's the thing. After that, the left hand turned into the climb. I was like, someone is going to kill themselves up this hill. And I was like, that's why you need to be top 5 going through that turn, because at that base of the climb, I was like, I don't know I had like 3 countries picked up, and I'm like, someone is going to attack from the base of this hill all the way to the top. And it just happened that Gariba went around the turn first, and she just was like, oh, I have a 5 back length gap. I'm going to continue on with this. I'm the time trial world champion. I can handle like 3K. So
it's also one of those other little notes I always like to throw in is that and it's a hard thing, I think, for people that are really good at time trialing, because she knows she's strong, and then to think, well, I'll be strong enough and I'll put the hurt to this other person. But they kind of neglect sometimes the fact that if you're not hurting as much and now you're behind them, you're getting that draft. And, it can be a counter. It's like your strength becomes your weakness. Right?
Yeah.
Because you're overplaying the strength, and then she's like, oh man, I think I got it. I'm gonna put a really hard pace up this hill, and maybe even lull her into that. Some really good tactics on your part to lull her into it. Like, hey, I'm not really coming through. And it's like, oh man, maybe she's suffering. She's cracking,
Yeah, it was hard. Like, don't get me wrong. It was like, she was moving. I had some like high power numbers going up that whenever I looked back on it. And I don't normally look back at any power data, but I was like, that was actually a really hard effort. So right. it was, she did a really good job. It's like, I wasn't just like nose breathing at all by any means, but right. I knew that I didn't really that wasn't my style of how, like, I would have been more happy to work and pull through if there's one other person with us. So it was like 3 people, but if I don't know, I feel like she was so strong. She performed really well at the last Nations Cup before Worlds. And I knew that if I was to waste so much energy to help like pull up that over the top of the climb or something like that, that she did have the capability maybe to get me on like the limit a little bit more than I wanted to be going into the final sprint if we were to be brought back by the group. And that's what I kept thinking in the back of my head, like, what happens? Like, someone attacks and does that one crazy pull at the end. Like, they're going to be coming at much faster speed. I'm like, I'm going to have to get up to speed, pay attention, watch them, get up to speed, and then jump on them, or just start the sprint early. I'm like, I don't want to be on that red zone just because I tried to get us to the finish, whereas like there's a group of maybe 10 working together behind us. And that's what I kept thinking, like, no, don't go into that red, like, max red zone. Right.
No, smart finish. And I think, the heartbreak is for her really to come up 4th. That's
it was really she did such an amazing job. And I keep watching the video over again. If you look back at an overhead view, she actually stops sprinting and then gets passed. She actually sits down and stops sprinting. I don't know if she was like completely gassed, or if that's like she thought she had a second place and she didn't realize how close everyone was, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because her head kind of drops. You're like, and did she just blow up and that was it? But I'm thinking, man, that's the heartbreak to do all that, staring at the finish line, and and it could be one of those ones. I mean, I've had that happen. Where it's like not at a world championship, thank God. But where I'm like, oh, there it is. Now I'm gonna get 3rd, and then all of a sudden, so then I back off, and it's like, no, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Because
Yeah.
you're let off the gas thinking, that's it. I'm gonna be third, and then all of a sudden, all these people go by, and you're like, oh man, and then it's really hard to mentally put your head around that, right? Where you
Oh yeah.
just
Yeah.
threw away a bunch of spots. It's hard to say what it was for her, but I felt bad at that. I was like, man, to come up fourth, because that was such a huge effort.
Mhm.
To end up that way. And but nonetheless, I mean, that's always the thing. It's not who does the most work. So
Yeah, especially since she won the TT, it would have been so cool to follow it up like a second place in the road race. That would just
right,
be an incredible weekend.
A second place,
yeah,
not a
second
win.
place.
Yeah,
No, but like
I
I'm
like
saying
that.
like she would have like helped.
We don't wish her
No,
that
but I'm
much.
saying like yeah, okay, you
No,
know
I
what
don't
I
like that
mean.
much.
Okay. I mean like a win would have been, but like if she would have like I don't know if she was just completely gassed or she would have kept sprinting, she would have had the podium. So that would have been really cool. It's like you're like you won by such a amazing performance in the TT, and then you like back it up by doing so well in the road race too. That just shows how strong she is, one, and how diverse of a rider she is.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Right.
So,
But
how talk to us a little bit about the transition to college. Are you you're racing there? You said right. You're in a cycling team at school.
Yes, I'm on the collegiate team here. It's
So
one of the very few colleges
you're
that
with
have it.
you're with other racers, but you're also, I'm sure, hanging out with students who don't know a lot about cycling. Do they have any context of what you do and how successful you've been when you're hanging out with students at school? What are those conversations like?
It's kind of weird because I know I had in this a lot. I think first month and a half I was here, I was like, I've been gone more days than I've been in class. Like it's just like one of those like realities of like missing so many days of class. So it's like, did you just drop out of school like 2 weeks into it, or like where'd you go? So, but I came in and I raced like collegiate track nationals right away, and from that I like set the track record at the Rock Hill Velodrome, which is really cool. I won the national title in the individual pursuit, and then we won the team pursuit as well. So we're like I was in the newspaper, and two of my professors always brings like if I make it into the newspaper, they always bring it to class, like give it to me of the morning class or whatever. So it was kind of like people knew that I was like actually a decent rider.
That's
I
cool.
think but no, I try and not like be like, yes, I'm a cyclist. That is everything I do. Yes, it's a very small school, so everyone knows what you're doing. But I'm just like, no, I have a different life. I don't have to talk about cycling every day. I can talk about something else, other activities, and can talk about school and everything else. But yeah, I think a couple of them are kind of like, oh, like you just got back from Germany. Oh, you're going to the UK. You travel a lot for cycling. You race at a very high level. Oh, you race for the national team? Like, really? Like, that's cool. But it's not one of those sports that everyone knows about. So it's kind of fun to explain a little bit of what I do.
Right. Do you try to explain to them sort of how bike racing works and the tactics and the dynamics of it?
I attempt to sometimes, but it's more just like, yeah, I race my bike for fun. Some days it's like a 2 minute race, other days it's 5 hours, but we just ride a bike hard. It's more funny like showing them the different bikes that I have my track bike on campus, my road bike and time trial, and then I had a mountain bike. So they're like, why do you need all these bikes and why do they look all different? Like, what's the point of this?
Because they're awesome. That's why.
Exactly. That's my
Right.
answer.
they all have their reasons, and there's and when people don't ride a lot, then they kind of like somebody was asking the other day, they were like, well, I want a mount bike that I can ride on the road. I'm like, yeah, they're kind of, you need two bikes, dude. It's like they're a
Yeah.
little too different, but
Mhm.
sometimes, but we also get really particular now between we have gravel and cross bikes, which are almost so identical that it's ridiculous that we have this
Oh yeah.
distinction.
Todd,
So
one has a much bigger tire than the other.
I know they're all fast when I'm riding. So
Come on. The rule is N+1 for bikes. Come on, we all know this.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Basic
It's like
rules, basic rules.
basic stuff, right? You should be
Basic
teaching a
math.
college class, right?
Yeah. Basic
So-
math. Come on, guys.
So
So
what's the schedule look like coming up?
I start training again next week, just kind of chill for a little while, and then I go into a little bit more. And then the end of December, it's like hard training for a couple weeks. And then from there, I'll be doing a lot with the track program. And that's basically where I'm at right now. And if the track doesn't work out, I'll just be racing a lot with Rally next year because I have signed again to race for Rally UHC next year.
Very cool.
There's not like any specific races that I know of yet, but it will be a lot with the track program next year.
Right. And that's probably going to start probably pretty soon. I mean, given the Olympics are in the summer, it doesn't give you a big time frame to get out there. So you're going to be looking at like a lot of jetting out from Tennessee out to LA, or where are you going to be kind of basing out of?
I think it'll be based out of either Colorado Springs or LA. And for next year, starting in January. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll probably be doing classes online for college. And so, because I can't really miss for a World Cup or going and training stuff, I can't really miss. I have to be there for a team pursuit training. I can't be like, oh, I'll show up once every week for a team pursuit training.
Right. Yeah, I mean, definitely it's a tough schedule, but you're on campus right now then.
Yes, for this fall semester, I am on campus, but next year I probably won't be on campus for next spring semester, and come back in the fall.
Yep. So that'll take some. It always takes some self-discipline, which I think you can definitely draw over from your training, right? I mean, it's like, I think it's a kind of a little bit of a unique thing to cycling, even at the pro level of you're accountable to train by yourself.
Mm-hmm. No one is there telling you to do it, and that's what I've noticed here. Is like we all have our own private coaches, and then I like come here and there's like a soccer team, a basketball team, and they all have like a team coach. I'm like, oh, that is such a weird concept of like having team practices and having one coach for every athlete on the team. I'm just like, that's such a weird concept.
Right. And that they have these organized, right? Like, hey, you're going to practice and they know if you're not there. And although now with all of training peaks and all the tools we have, it becomes pretty obvious if you're not loading up files, then it's like, what have you been doing?
Yeah, like you have a training plan. Did you just forget to upload it? What'd you do? But yeah, it's a lot more individual on cycling, and that's the funny part of whenever people are asking about cycling. It's like, so when do you have your team practice, or what time do you have practice day at? And I'm like, huh? Like what? I'm like, oh,
right.
Yeah, just like whenever I feel like riding during the day. Like I have a 4-hour ride. Okay, so if I get class at like 2, I literally have to leave right after. So at 2:10.
Right. Yeah,
they're like,
it's whenever I fit it, or when the weather's better, or
exactly.
Right?
Like, oh, it's like on the trainer today. I have specific intervals I have to do. I'm like, okay, trainer, I can do that whenever.
And it's like, whoa, nobody's making me do stuff. And heck, I did it when I was a freshman because I was too busy riding my bike and goofing off. The next thing you know, you get halfway through the semester and you're like, you're failing a class. Like I was failing racquetball because I didn't go.
Right. Yeah, Todd, we should compare notes. We should compare notes on that. I got a few of those.
Okay, my story is completely different from that. I was homeschooled. I don't know if you knew that. I was homeschooled all my life. So when your parents, your mother is the teacher, your dad is the principal of your school, you're so called.
Right.
And if you get like a B on the test or whatever, or you don't do well on a test, they know if you studied or not. So even if they don't tell you, oh, go study, you have a test coming up, you know you need to study because there's no sympathy by your parents if you get a bad grade. It's like, oh, the teacher was hard. Oh, the teacher was hard today. Nope. Same teacher, same everything. Nope, no sympathy. You didn't study.
Yeah.
So
you don't get to say to dad, like my teacher sucks. Like
exactly. So I think
terrible.
Yeah, definitely never said that. Well, maybe when I was mad, but no. I definitely have been motivated in school, like really motivated in school. So coming over to college, that I was always like, I need to get A's in college. So from the last 2 semesters, I took like a fall semester last year at a junior college, and then took some online classes for the spring and summer semesters to transfer in. And I was fine being self-motivated, and here I'm definitely self-motivated to get good grades and show that I can race and miss so many days of class too. And that's what I needed to show like the first 2 weeks. Then coming back from the UK, I was like, okay, professors, I'm going to miss the next 2 weeks of class because I'm racing on the national team in the UK. Can you work with me? I'm missing all these exams, all these assignments. What can I do to make it up? I promise I will stay on top of my readings and everything. And I think whenever I came back and I got like, I'm still all A's, I'm taking like 17 and a half credit hours. So I think it showed like, oh, you can trust me. Like, don't worry. Like, I will stay up to date on my schoolwork. And that's definitely because I think I was just like really self-motivated to show that I can do well in school and miss all these days and race at this level.
And you'll pass racquetball.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll be busy training for that. That might be too dangerous. I get to twist an ankle or something. You never know. Get too competitive.
Still up in the air.
Just might want to say I failed racquetball.
It happens though. It sneaks up on you. Trust me, it sneaks up on you.
That's a really good story, though.
Yeah. It's a better story than when you're panicking about how you're gonna. I had to play racquetball 3 days a week. You know, I'm playing like multiple times a day. It was crazy because I had to make up all this game. all I did was play racquetball for weeks because I was like so far. It was crazy. So at the time, I was definitely not happy about it. So
what are you doing today? I'm making up racquetball practice.
Yeah, like no joke. I was playing like multiple times a day because I was like, I gotta make these games up. So don't go down that path. It's just not worth it. Just if you gotta make games, make the games. So
I'll leave this podcast with that advice in mind.
yeah, and the Sean Kelly race video.
Yes, 1992. Got it.
Got it. Perfect. So,
all right.
awesome.
Well, we'll end on that note, Megan. We really appreciate your time. It was awesome to get to talk to you and get some insight on a whole bunch of really cool stuff.
Yeah, it was great talking to you guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again, hopefully.
Yeah,
Sounds
we'll
good.
be looking for a lot of track stuff in 2020. Looking forward to it.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, Tokyo.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
All right. Sounds good. Take care.
Bye.